Tomcat vulnerability. And do we change the source code and do it?
We're not talking about few couple of images. We're talking about hundreds of images, right? Can you guys do it? And can you guys do it repeatedly? Can you guys maintain the accuracy? Can you guys give us an SLA? Clean Start, what we are doing with Clean Start, building images which are, with zero CVEs, deep bloated, lightweight, compliant, and how we kind of build it. We are not kind of downloading and cleaning it.
When I talk about vulnerabilities, this will take some time. So, yes, and the scale at which we do vulnerabilities is something that I would talk about. Now, let's say one kind of vulnerability is a main root package vulnerability. For example, I get a Tomcat vulnerability. And do we change the source code and do it? The answer is no. We depend on the maintainer to do it. We are monitoring the repos ourselves and doing it. And if Tomcat has fixed it, we have a SLAs to follow, and we recompile it and we provide it to you. Now this whole process, and I will talk about the other kind of vulnerabilities as well. But let's say I got a Tomcat vulnerability and we support N-3 versions and all are affected. So what we have a robust system in which vulnerability scanning is done. So we are monitoring the repos, we are monitoring the NVD database, we are monitoring, and there's some problem with NVD nowadays. They do not maintain all the vulnerabilities. So then we have talking about GitHub Advisor. There are multiple sources that we constantly monitor, and we are constantly checking our package repo and our image repo, that how many of the vulnerabilities, how many of our packages and images are in turn affected. And if it is affected, we go ahead and compile it again, and then new releases are made, and it's a continuous process.
Right.
Now, as I said, there's this automatic build process. Of course, we're talking about a declarative system. Of course, we are talking about using agentic AI, right? Because when we started doing it, we did a lot of things, handcrafted it initially, and then we saw that all of these things can be automated, and whatever can be automated and can be automated with intelligence, rather than using constant playbook or static build thing. We have started using agentic AI, which helps us a lot in doing this. The second thing I would really touch upon a vulnerability is a dependency vulnerability. And let's say I got a vulnerability in something like a curl.
Hey.
The problem is curl might be a package that is installed in all of my images. Right. So I would have to rebuild all my images, but this is an automatic process, right? Because we have a declarative build system for images as well, and QA. So whenever the new curl has come in, and we check this vulnerability is across, let's say, 600 unique images.
Wow.
And their associated versions, including the architectures. So we might have to build all of them using the latest version of curl. So it is an automatic process that happens at the back end.
Right.
And we have to do it if we have to scale up. So yes, it took us a while to get all of this set up and aligned. But I think, yes, so we typically inform our customers that there is a new vulnerability come up in the image that they are using. We say, now it is under investigation and a fix is available. And when the fix is available, we say that, yes, this fix was available 10 hours ago, and in 10 hours or 12 hours or 24 hours, we have been able to give you a latest image and you can go ahead and use it. Right? As I said, I would take a little time on the vulnerability piece. The other part of vulnerabilities is not so straightforward. It is a library based, and we call it an upstream vulnerability. We discovered a software, it's a Go based software, and its latest release had vulnerabilities, but the vulnerabilities was not actually based on the actual source code of that particular, but it was a vulnerability of a Go library that they were using, which had multiple vulnerabilities. And we have fixed it with the latest library, compiled with the latest library and given it across. Same we have seen with libc-based vulnerabilities, and there are multiple things. So what it does is, when we are doing this, we are doing all the heavy lifting for the any organizations who have to do it manually,
Right.
or who are trying to do it themselves, right? With limited this thing, because we can do it at scale.
Right. Right. I think that is very interesting part, because for our viewers and security leaders, I think this is a big challenge. I know when I speak to a lot of security leaders in my conversations, I think there are conversations wherein they are just using maybe 4 images, and there are 20,000 vulnerabilities, and there are auditors sitting on the head. They want to get this addressed, right? Um so giving something which is clean by default, right, wherein all the packages, the base images, dependencies are clean, right, kind of solves a significant problem. And imagine when you look at this as scale. We are working with one of the Fortune 100 companies in the US. Remember when we were a couple of months back, we were there in the US, and in San Francisco, we were talking to the customer, and they were talking about 140 images, 600 packages, AMIs, and whatnot, right? So, and the question was in that, can you guys do it? We're not talking about few couple of images. We're talking about hundreds of images, right? Can you guys do it? And can you guys do it repeatedly? Can you guys maintain the accuracy? Can you guys give us an SLA? So that's the interesting part, SLA, right? Why don't you tell that? How do we kind of keep this tightly knit SLA when it comes to vulnerability, right? Because today the image is clean, tomorrow there can be a new vulnerability.
Yeah, so as I explained, two parts of the vulnerability, right? So what we are doing is, we are monitoring all the vulnerability databases. We are also monitoring the repos of all the packages. So not only we are looking for a vulnerability being discovered, we are also looking for the fix being available, and we are also looking for the commit ID associated with it. And that is something that we need for compliance perspective as
Right,
well.
I know. It's a whole new conversation. Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's a new conversation, but yes. So now that the new version is out and the fixed version is out, we get to know, and this is a process, internal ticketing system, etc. And then the package compilation from the source code based on the fix is
Right.
started, and it and you get a new then the new image is made, the QA is done, etc. And we tend to provide the image ASAP, because nothing much changes.
Right.
It depends on what has changed fundamentally, and what went into that change in that particular release. Now that brings a very important conversation that people ask is, if you are if I'm using Python 3.12, are you upgrading me to Python 3.13 as a fix? So that's a misconception that people have. The answer is no, because we are looking at bug fixes or security patches. So like, let's say I support n-3. So in Python, I support 3.10, 3.11, 3.12, and 3.13. Now the latest can be 3.13.4 as of today's date. And it could be 3.12.6 or 3.11.10 or 3.10.15. It could be any numbers.
Right.
I'm
And
just
then-
giving arbitrary numbers, yes.
Right, Bess. And then one thing which I think often comes, right, and then I wanted to stop you here, sorry, because there is a misconception that when you're doing this, you are kind of changing the functionality. And, when you fix this, I would not be able to use the functionality which I was using before, right? And there will be an issue with the compatibility. So, yeah, I think probably you would like to.
Yes. So we need to understand how versioning works across the whole software, and developers understand that.
Right.
So one thing is major releases. One thing is minor releases and bug fixes. So as I come back to the Python example, so if you look at 3.13 has already 4 releases, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3.11 has and 12 has multiple releases gone into double digits. So the third part that you are talking about, third denomination, is
Right.
talking about the bug fix or the security patch, etc., with keeping 3.11 intact, the functionality of 3.11 impact. Now, if you upgrade from 3.11 to 3.12 or 3.13 directly, there can be nuances because it's a major upgrade
Right.
that you are looking at. But we try to concentrate on giving the customer the bug fix and the patch update so that he can keep using it without any difficulties. And I think software developers understand this, and they say as long as it's this version, we do not have a problem with it. It can be any of the bug fixes or patch releases that come up. But they do not want to this research to be done by them, or this to fall on their head that they will figure it out or they will do it. If they and otherwise they do not have a problem until it's a version change, etc.
Yeah. So I think this I think clarifies one important point, that while we are fixing vulnerabilities, the code will not break, the compatibility will not have an issue, the functionality will still remain as it is, right? And I know this has to also go back to talking about salsa, wherein we say that the code has not been tampered with, then the originality of the code, the commit IDs, the artifacts are genuine. So, and it's a full conversation, and then we are going to cover it in our upcoming episodes for sure.
Yeah, and it's an open source, and I touch the source code, and I clean the vulnerability. Under the licensing term, I have to give it back to the community that it is there. So no company can claim that they are fixing the vulnerability themselves, because if they are doing it, we are bound by, and we plan to do it, but we will go ahead and give it to the community back.
Right.
So if we touch upon and we find something in the source code that can be fixed, that should have been fixed, but that needs to go back to the community. Yes.
Yeah, and then very very basic question, and I think but very valid, makes a lot of sense. Uh, Often you will find developers, they are not using the latest versions, right? So more than often I've seen that they are not on the latest version, they are using -2, -3, 3, 4 versions down the line. And the question comes that, hey, this latest version has a vulnerability, right? And there's a fix available in the latest version, but I am not using the latest version, I'm using probably 3 versions down the line, and but this vulnerability is still relevant to me. So how can I fix it? Because I don't really have a fix. The fix is available in the latest one. So I know we do something very interesting, which is backporting, right? Please spill some beans. I wanted to talk about it. It's a good selling point.
I do understand it's a good selling point, and backporting typically means always not possible, but most of the time yes. Let's say you are using, and I'll again use a Python example. Let's say there's a vulnerability on Python 3.10 and 11, not on 12 and 13, because some code base is same. And that was being fixed on 3.10 and 3.11 because N-3 versions are supported.
Right.
But a customer is using 3.8 or 3.9, and and we figure out that it is the same code base that being used,
Right.
right? And so we try to do backporting and try to solve the problem in a unique way. But there are multiple things that we need to look at. The licensing, the open source MIT license, GPL license. So there are multiple things that needs to be talked about when we are touching the source code. So yes, so that is something that we have done and we are doing.
So yeah, I think a lot of good discussions we had, Bis, and very interesting points we touched upon, starting with software supply chain, demystifying things, right? You kind of poked holes into what are the concerns, challenges, the attack surface, right? Everything happening outside your environment, right? How do you kind of build trust? And that's a whole different topic, going to compliance, talking about compliances. CleanStart, what we are doing in with CleanStart, building images which are, with zero CVEs, de-bloated, lightweight, compliant, and how we kind of build it. We are not kind of downloading and cleaning it, right? So we all happening inside. So our kitchen, and we did discuss about, you did mention about, vulnerabilities, right? How we are dealing with it at scale, at velocity. So all interesting stuff, right, which we are doing this. I'm sure viewers would get some good insight about what we are doing inside, how we are building these images, and how for you as a developer or you as a security leader, it makes a lot of sense to take this approach, because this is going to be the future, right? Not really future, but I would say this is happening at present, right? We are seeing organizations in the US, tech companies, financial institutions. This is becoming a de facto, and in US federal government, Department of Defense, they have something, which is a repository which is very controlled, which is kind of maintained by companies like us, right? And we provide those clean images. Of course, it's a sensitive environment, right? So yes, it makes a lot of sense. So we'll bring some more interesting topics to discuss, and some industry leaders in our upcoming episodes, and some important topics like compliances, which we haven't discussed, right? So I know Biz can talk about it for maybe you give him like 24 hours, it's not enough. It's a very big topic, and we'll go into detail because it is very important. Thank you so much for watching us. We will continue our CleanStart conversations.